Canoe is a narrow, keelless boat with pointed ends, propelled by a paddle or paddles constructed on 8000 BC in Netherlands. Skis, discovered by 1960s archaeologist Grigory Burov, date back to 6000 BC in northern Russia. Skis were first invented to cross wetlands and marshes in the winter when they froze over. Wheeled cart, usually drawn by a single animal, is known to have been in use by the Greeks and the Assyrians by 1800 BC, although it is generally assumed that such vehicles could have been used as early as 3500 BC as an extension of the invention of the wheel. Galley is a type of ship propelled by rowers that originated in the eastern Mediterranean Sea and was used for warfare, trade, and piracy from the first millennium BC. Carriage is a private four-wheeled vehicle, most commonly horse-drawn, invented on 600 BC. Junks were usually cargo ships, pleasure boats, or houseboats. It first appeared in China during the Han Dynasty, 200 AD. Wheelbarrow. Earliest wheelbarrows were used around 200 AD by soldiers of a Chinese general. They were used to transport supplies along narrow embankments. Carack. The Spaniards and Portuguese developed a particular type of ship to trade in the Mediterranean Sea and the North Atlantic. Historians believe it first appeared in the 50th century.
A funicular. It is a transportation system that uses cable-driven cars to connect points along a steep incline. It uses two counterbalance passenger cars attached on opposite ends at the same cable. It is invented by Sir Karl Roman Act. A stagecoach. It is a four-wheeled public coach used to carry paying passengers and light packages on a journey long enough to change horses. It was invented by Sir Goldsworthy Gurney. The Montgolfier brothers launched the first hot air balloon in 1783, paving the way to further human exploration of the sky. The hot air balloon was the first successful human-carrying flight technology. The first and ever manned hot air balloon flight was performed by Jean-Francois. The first successful steamboat was the Klamath. It was invented by Sir Robert Fulton in 1807, and the main purpose of the steamboat is to carry passengers and cargoes across the lands. The steam locomotive was invented in 1802 by Richard Trevithick. Steam locomotives were the first developed in the United Kingdom during the early 19th century and used for railway transport until the middle of 20th century. In light of this crisis, a German forest official and inventor named Karl von Drais devised what would be a precursor to the bicycle. It's called a running machine or the dandy horse, intended to replace a feed-guzzling horse as a mode of transportation. The first successful airship was constructed by Henry Giffard of France in 1852. Giffard built a 160-kilogram steam engine capable of developing 3 horsepower, sufficient to turn a large propeller at 110 revolution per minute.
Subway in 1863, also called underground tube or metro. Underground railway system used to transport a large number of passengers within urban and suburban areas. Subways are usually built under city street for ease of construction, but they may take shortcuts and sometimes must pass under rivers. Farthing in 1870, also known as a high-wheeler or ordinary, was the first machine to be called a bicycle. It was popular in the 1870s and 1880s, with each large front wheel providing a high speed and comfort. Wheel provides greater shock absorption. Electric trolley in 1882, Ernst Werner von Siemens as a demonstration trackless trolley in a Berlin suburb. The innovative device pulls electricity from overhead wires, but runs with road wheels, not on rails. By the early 1880s, Siemens had already displayed the world's first railway using third wheel. or third rail, in which the rails themselves were used to convey electricity from a central generator. Motorcycle design varies greatly to suit a range of different purposes: long-distance travel, commuting, cruising, sport, including racing and off-road riding. Motorcycling is riding a motorcycle involving other related social activity, such as joining a motorcycle club and attending motorcycle races. Gascar in 1886 on January 26, 1886, Carl Benz applied for a patent for his vehicle powered by a gas engine. Glider in 1891, the most significant pre-ride Rogers aeronautical and experimental was the German glider pioneer Otto Lilienthal. Between 1891 and 1896, he built and flew a series of highly successful full-size gliders. Truck in 1892. In the 1890s, Rudolf Diesel invented an efficient comprehension ignition internal combustion engine that bears his name. Early diesel engines were large and operated at low speed due to the limitation of their compressed air-assisted fuel injection system.
Airplanes. The Wright Flyer was the first successful heavier-than-air powered aircraft designed and built by the Wright brothers, Wilbur and Orville Wright, an American inventors and pioneer of aviation. In 1903, the Wright brothers achieved the first powered, sustained, and controlled airplane flight and built and flew the first fully practical airplane. Airplanes help generate trade, promote tourism, and also create employment opportunities. Race cars. Race car is a very fast car that is used in professional auto racing. The world's first automobile race was the brainchild of two French engineers and businessmen. The people behind the first car race were two men who had an automobile shop in Paris. Emile Levasseur and René Panhard came up with the idea of racing their cars as a way of promoting their business. Helicopters. On September 1939, the VS-300, world's first practical helicopter, took flight at Stratford. It was the first to incorporate a single main rotor and tail rotor designed by Igor Skorsky and built by the Voth-Skorsky Aircraft Division of the United Aircraft Corporation. Helicopters can be used for many things. It can be used as flying ambulances to carry patients, can be loaded with water to fight large fires, and also, helicopters are being used by military forces to move troops and get supplies to ships. Jetliners. The de Havilland Comet was the first commercial jet airliner and began service on January 1952. A de Havilland Comet flying for British Overseas Airways Corporation becomes the first jet aircraft to enter commercial service, carrying passengers from London to Johannesburg, South Africa. It was built by de Havilland, a British firm, and was the backbone of the British commercial fleet. Monster trucks. A monster truck is a specialized truck with a heavy-duty suspension for winning steering and oversized tires constructed for competition and entertainment uses. Originally created by modifying stock pickup trucks and sports utility vehicles. Bob Chandler, with his Bigfoot truck, was considered the first monster truck at his shop in Hazelwood. Hovercraft. A hovercraft, also known as an air cushion vehicle or ACV, is an amphibious craft capable of traveling over land, water, mud, ice, and other surfaces. The idea of the modern hovercraft is most often associated with the British mechanical engineer Sir Christopher Cockerell. He was a knight for his services to the engineering field and was working for hovercraft development. Bathyscaphe. Trieste is a Swiss-designed, Italian-built deep-diving research. Bathyscaphe is a self-propelled vehicle used for deep-sea dives. It can dive deeper than a person with scuba gear and even deeper than submarines. Design features reveal that the Bathyscaphe was engineered with one goal in mind, which is to reach the deepest depth of the ocean. On January 1960, Jacques Piccard and U.S. Navy Lieutenant Don Walsh achieved the goal of Project Neptune, which is a code name for a series of very shallow test dives.
Rocket 1961. A rocket is a spacecraft that obtains thrust from a rocket engine. Russian cosmonaut Yuri Gagarin was the first human to journey into outer space, leaving Earth on April 12, 1961, aboard a Vostok K rocket for a multi-orbit flight in space. All-Terrain Vehicle, 1961. All-Terrain Vehicle, or also known as an ATV, was first developed in 1961 in Toronto, Canada, and was called the Jigger. The Jigger was a 5.5 horsepower, 200-pound, 6-wheeled amphibious ATV, meaning the vehicle could travel on land and on water. Jet Propulsion, 1984. Engineered by Charles Edwardson, a jet-powered backpack called the Manned Maneuvering Unit, or the MMU, which makes you fly through space effortlessly. In February 1984, the astronauts Bruce McCandless and Bob Stewart were the first to test fly the MMU in space, where they ventured 300 feet away from their space shuttle. Maglev, 1984. In 1984, the first commercial maglev, in short for magnetic levitation, came in line in Birmingham, England. A maglev is a system of train transportation that uses two sets of magnets. One set is to repel and push the train up off the tracks, and another set to move the elevated train ahead, taking advantage of the lack of friction. Segway 2001. Segway is a two-wheeled, self-balancing personal transporter invented by Dean Kamen, which was then brought to the market in 2001 as a Segway HT-NPT, or Segway Human Transporter or Personal Transporter. Self-driving car 2009 prototype. Waymo is an autonomous driving technology company where they began as a Google self-driving car project in 2009, where they made a prototype of a car that doesn't need anyone to operate the steering wheel in the driver's seat to get around. Hyundai Fuel Cell Car 2015. Fuel cell cars use hydrogen gas to power an electric motor, unlike conventional vehicles which run on gasoline and diesel. Fuel cell cars and trucks combine hydrogen and oxygen to produce electricity, which runs a motor. Hyundai was the first to market a fuel cell vehicle, which was launched in 2015.